Namaste and welcome to today's episode of Online Gurukulam Learning from the Masters. Let me tell you a love story. So, once upon a time, there was a man named Unbelievable. And he, of course, did not like his name too much. And all his life, he tried to change it. Somehow it happened that he could not change his name. It's almost like me living in the north of India. It was very late in my life I discovered that Kamlesh was a masculine name. It was used for addressing men in most parts of our country. So I tried to change my name. And by that time it was too late because it was printed all over my matriculation and my graduation certificates. And then a little later in my life, my identity as Kamlesh had become pretty much popular, and too many people already knew me with this name. So name change almost went out of question for me. Anyways, so we come back to the story. Just like me, Unbelievable could not change his name. So he lived with it, very unhappy. And one day, finally, on his deathbed, he whispered into his wife's ears saying, "My dear, I want you to do me a favor. When I die, please do not write my name on the gravestone. It will be very painful, if people went on calling me the same even after I am dead. You just inscribe anything, whatever comes to your mind, write on my tombstone." Since it was the Valentine's Day and the wife became extremely emotional about her husband's death and the life she spent with him, so she decided to inscribe on his gravestone, "Here lies a man who loved only one woman all his life." So now even today, whoever passes by the grave and they read, what do they say? Unbelievable. So here's a big question. Is everything in our life destined? Or do we have some kind of free will? Is there any freedom of choice? Is our destiny an outcome of small little choices that we go on making throughout this journey called life? Or are we simply bound by some unchangeable plan? I'm very happy to welcome Daaji Kamlesh Patel ji to lead us through a very wonderful class today on the topic freedom of choice. Kamlesh Patel ji has been student of both Western medical science and the yogic science of consciousness for over 40 years. As a professional pharmacist and a Raj Yogi, he has the rare capacity to synthesize research in these two fields, especially the incredible advances that has happened in both in last 100 years. In 2014, he became the spiritual guide of the Sahaj Marg system and the third president of Sri Ramchandra Mission. He believes that Brahma Vidya should be offered free and not commercialized. His efforts dedicated to elevating human consciousness have been applauded worldwide as he continues to generally share his time with all those who seek his guidance. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoy this session with Pujya Kamlesh Patel ji.
Namaste, everyone. We're going to talk today about freedom of choice. I would like you to ponder over this statement. that you are the experiment, you are the experimenter, and you are the outcome. How will you use your laboratory? What is your laboratory? Where is it? It's your heart. In the heart, we conduct this experiment. I would like to present to you one video. Please have a look at it. And once you have looked at it and answered the question, I think you will be able to understand how sharp your attention is, how mindful you are, and how you are able to respond with your heart, meaning with confidence, the decision that you have made. So here you go. Please have a look at this video.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
That's right, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
Action.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
This video clip is from Sherlock Holmes. It tells us a lot of things, the choices we make, especially in making decisions. What do we associate this word choice with? For most of us, it is a decision that we have to make between one option and another option. Or you may be in a frustrating situation where you have multiple options that's, calls on you to make a quick decision. In order to be able to do this, there is a notion that we need to be independent to be able to make an appropriate choice. Of course, but are you really independent in making such appropriate choices? We like to believe that I am free, or we are free, or independent to make that particular choice and come to a right decision. Look at another scenario. Not only are we more in trouble when we have to choose, but we are also distressed when we are trying to make a choice. And especially when the situation where we have to make a vital choice, we really get frustrated with all that. What if I make a wrong choice? For example, decision to marry someone, or starting a new business where you have multiple opportunities, or you have job offers. How will you make those choices? All these aspects of making choices are related to how does your heart feel. So let's think over the choices we have made in the past when we did not listen to our heart, and the kind of choices we made. What made you feel that I made a boo-boo, or I did a wonderful thing? You'll be happy that yes, whenever I have used my heart, my results were good. Whenever I did not listen to my heart and acted impulsively, I had to regret. So the need to still our heart, make it calm, make it like a still pond, quiet pond, calm pond, on whose surface you can see its subtlest of ripples. Our heart is also like that. See, if you have a turbulent heart, you won't be able to make a really worthwhile decision. Even when you are at the peak of a game, when you're playing, for example, a basketball or a football, it's quite hectic. Mentally, you are very hectic. But if you have a meditative mind, despite of chaos, your inner will remain very poised. I would like you to experience such a paradoxical state where you're too busy physically, but mentally you're quiet. You're simply waiting like a cat waiting for the mouse, and just simply pounces when something that you cherish is right in front of you. Yoga, the pursuit of yoga is only for this merger with the ultimate. Ultimate being the quietest, most anonymous, most hidden, quietest. If it was making noise, then God would be caught. I am God. If God was to speak, then what would happen? Something to think about. But what would God say, I am so and so? Whenever someone says, I am so and so, it is only to display. In common parlor, we call it ahankar. If God starts announcing, I am so and would like to be recognized, I am God, or I am Sadguru, or I am such a nice Guru, or I am such and such, then that's not God. Let's ponder over further how our choices, the choices that we make, are also based on information that we have in our cognitive mind. Swami Vivekananda, in one of his complete works, talks about cognates. I wish you would read that. It is perhaps in one of the chapters called Macrocosm and Microcosm. He details out the process of recalling subconscious memory. He talks about cognates, what Patanjali talks about vrittis. Chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is all about that, chitta vritti nirodha. Vrittis also can be understood properly when we compare it with cognates. What are cognates? Suppose when you have seen something already. For example, you have seen a game, any game. And if someone asks you later in the future, have you seen this game? Or have you seen that particular toy? Or have you seen that particular car? Or have you seen this particular perfume? So, based on what has been stored in your memory, you will be able to say with confidence, because those cognates of memory are already embedded in your mind. But if you are not able to recall because you have never seen those things, then you will simply say, my mind, of course we don't say such a thing that my mind is unable to recall those cognates, but you will say, I don't know anything about this. So cognates are very important. When our parents have taught us certain way of lifestyle, it becomes a subconscious cognate. When genetically we have been trained, we have been given that knowledge, for example, for fish, when the eggs are laid and start swimming, Who teaches this fish to swim in the ocean? It's all genetic coding, it's all cognates genetically transferred. So, cognates genetically transferred or conditioned or learned over a period of lifetime. My Guruji Maharaj would call these things as samskaras. Samskaras guide our lives. See. So now when we talk of this idea of freedom of choice, would you think that Swami Vivekananda would have a choice or would choose a particular way of life if he was born amongst us today? What sort of a choices he would be making? He was conditioned differently, with different parentage, with a kind of a mighty guru that he had, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. But imagine he had one of these gurus. What sort of a clarion call would he be making amongst us today? So surrounding does affect us as well. When we make certain choices in life, surrounding does also impact us. Our samskars impact us. Our learnings from parents, teachers, everything impacts. It depends who is teaching you, who is behind you, to whom you have taken a kind of an oath to follow such a teaching. That teaching makes us. That teaching shapes us. Later on, the choices that we make will depend on the philosophy that has conditioned us. So this conditioning does not give us a lot of freedom. When we talk of Lord Rama and Mother Sita, avatar Purushas, meaning they are beyond karma phalas, they are beyond karma, they are beyond sanskara, they are beyond cognates, they are beyond all these cognitive biases. Yet, they were influenced, their decisions were influenced by the society they were living in then. See. No less a guru than sage Vasishtha saw the Kundali, the astrological, matchmaking chart. And he was elated, told Raja Dashrath that this is the best pair you can have. Anything that can go wrong and worse can that happen in any couple's life happen to them. See. So where is the freedom of choice? Did he have any choice? Though he was beyond karma and beyond karma phalas, yet both of them suffered a lot, to the extent that Mother Sita had to go through the test at behest of no less a person than Lord Rama himself. Another time she was asked to undergo certain tests. She decided enough is enough. That's when she applied freedom of choice, that I will not go through this again. And she dissolved herself. She disappeared from where she came. Later on, Lord Rama, he ended up taking samadhi when he must have reflected his life unfolding in his heart. What must have gone through him that he decided to take a samadhi in Saryu river? Imagine you today have to make this decision of taking samadhi in Krishna river or Narmada river or Ganges, doesn't matter where. However holy, however calling for God, what makes you decide that I must take a Jal Samadhi? Was it his choice, or was he forced by circumstances to come to such a a decision that even today we are not able to decipher. Was it divine? Was it suicide? Was it frustration? What is guilt? What is. Such questions are very difficult to answer when it is about others' lives. And when we are reflecting on our own life, we are extremely prejudicial, extremely, because you have always considered yourself Mr. Right. Even deep down in your heart, you know you are wrong, yet we declare that I have been right. Such adamancy, such egoism blunts our vivekta, our discriminative faculty, our intelligence. And when ego plays its part, you have seen this with your boss or with your spouse, perhaps at times, or some unknown person with a lot of arrogance. You can see unjust prevailing there, see. And you say, why? What sort of decisions are they making? Such wrong decisions are made under the spell of arrogance. Arrogance is again another face of egoism. घमंड भी एक अहंकार का स्वरूप है. So we have to see how my freedom of choice, or the choices that I make means my decisions, are they based on my ego? How much clarity does it have? Is this clarity based on my alertness or my full attention? That we have seen today, that movie clip. If I was not attentive, plus if I did not have enough of information that nobody plants such flowery bulbs in winter. So whenever someone says, oh, it was raining, it was summer, and I planted so and so when it is not plantable, that person is lying. So I need to have certain background, some sort of understanding, some sort of evidence. Only then I will be able to make a proper decision. Also adding up this aspect of arrogance. And third aspect that I would like to share with you is viveka, or our discrimination. Gets sharpened when I'm less and less attached with individuals. For example, in the office or in your business world, you often make decisions based on the feedback from certain employees that you have, whom you like perhaps, or those employees who have proven time and again that they are really worthwhile listening to. So somehow you are tempered. Again, this is an aspect of conditioning. Your subconscious is affected by certain individuals, that this person always speaks the right thing. This person is honest. This person is not affected by this bipartisan things or multi-partisan thing. Whoever may be guiding us, the ultimate decision, if you are the boss in a company, has to emerge from your heart. Even when the most trusted person is telling you something noble, and if your heart disagrees with that, wait for some time before we make a decision. Impulsive decision will not help us. Even when ye have made a correct decision, this is worth pondering over. Even if it's a right decision, it will be difficult to make your heart feel contented if your heart is in some sort of disagreement. See? So, desires can tamper with our decision making. Decision making is very important, especially to know what is right, what is wrong, what is profitable, what is not so profitable, which course of action should I take that can help me get out of this stress. These are all matters of the heart. More and more you'll pursue with logic, we will fail somehow. This also raises many questions like, when I'm suffering, is it because of my destiny? Not always. Nothing is ever written in solid that this will happen. If that was the truth, if that is the ultimate truth, or Akshar Satya as they say, then how did we end up forming complex destiny over aeons of time when we were fresh, when Atman was fresh for the first time exposed in this universe? It did not have the baggage of samskaras. It did not have the conditioning of a surrounding. It had no other influence from parents either. How did it end up forming samskaras? Samskaras are the cause of forming a destiny. Of course, to a large extent, we create our destiny. We create our destiny. If you had not studied engineering, for example, in your past, or if you had not studied medicine, so the past does play a role. If I had made the right choices, if I had made wrong choices, all those influence or the product I would have been subjected to in the now. Similarly, the future that I am making will depend upon my action, my decisions that I make today, in the here and now. So destiny, just like what they call in genetics. Is genetics pakka, 100% rigid? No, I don't think so. Physically, to a large extent, genetics plays out. But there is still a factor, what we call epigenome, which is more flexible. It can be influenced. It can be trained. At a mental level, father may be a farmer, maybe a murderer perhaps, but you can change the freedom that you enjoy at a mental level. And spiritually, the DNA of samskars may not have so much of force upon our destiny, because we also have this equivalent to epigenome, freedom of choice. You have a choice to act in certain way. You can deny certain decisions with respect, and you do not apply those things in day-to-day life. The choices that you make again will influence the future. So we are, in a way, makers of our own destiny. So in order to make right decisions, I have to be above the influences of desires. I should be above this arrogance. Both are important in also arriving at or in appreciating the meaning of God realization or attaining liberation. Both are crucial. So, without the clarity in the heart, you cannot see the real picture. If your mirror in the bathroom is fogged because of this, the steam, water, vapor that has covered the whole mirror after your bath, you can't see yourself. Likewise, a person filled with desires, playing out his part as an egoist. Then too, when one fails to make right decision and thus chooses his own destiny. Though God may be favoring for a better life, yet we end up making a mess out of our own life. I have found what is the way out in sharpening our heart, how to make this surface of the heart so reflective. Unpolluted surface of the heart can help us make this decision. When Patanjali says, Chitta vritti nirodha, means do not let these vrittis influence your decisions. When we don't allow these vrittis to prevail, yoga is a normal, natural outcome of it. The question remains, how am I going to get rid of this chitta vrittis? Often we say through meditation, through dhyana. But how do you meditate? People sit with closed eyes. What do you do next? Even if I give you the method that meditate in this fashion, yet you will fail to meditate properly. Even when you have a guru who can help you, in this scenario under heartfulness, where transmission is given, yogic pranahuti is given, and when you meditate, time after time you will notice that a state of consciousness that you arrive at is beyond us. Despite of us, we arrive at a sublime state of consciousness. Even when you are most disturbed and you don't feel like meditating, but somehow you muscle up and say, I'm going to meditate no matter what. And you open up yourself and say, my God, I'm here waiting for you. And you invoke this yogic transmission offered under heartfulness way of meditation. You'll be amazed to see how a simple, magical impact of this pranahuti can change your consciousness instantly. It does not demand penances or tapasya of even 10 hours or even 3 hours. If you can remain heartfully open, waiting to receive God in your heart, and see the magic of this pranahuti. So I would like to walk you through this process of meditation, if you would permit me to. Process is simple. We have to gently sit in a comfortable posture. There should not be any strain to any part of your body. If you like to sit on a chair, go ahead. If you like to sit on a floor with folded legs, sukhasanas, you can sit like that. Whatever is comfortable. But do not lie down and meditate. That's number one. Number two, remain open mentally and heartfully. Number three, being receptive to this transmission. That, my God, I have never experienced you. It's time I experience your presence. Please help me. Let your heart have this attitude, magnifying, and sit with them in a waiting mode that, yes, I'm receiving something which is so vital to my spiritual growth. Okay. So let's begin with this meditation with these 3-4 things I have shared with you. Imagining that divine presence is already there in my heart. Antaryami, we call him, no? So let's invoke the presence of Antaryami with the thought that that divine presence is already there in the form of light in my heart that is attracting my attention inward. So sit with this idea. You may have a lot of thoughts. It's okay. Just remind yourself that I am meditating. Each time you are diverted by thoughts, just gently remind yourself that I am meditating and again become receptive to this yogic transmission. We can meditate like this for another 20 minutes or so. When it's all over, I'll say that's all. So let's begin. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you next time. We'll continue with the same topic. And if you have questions, please do feel free to write to us. My address is there, kamlesh@heartfulness.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Daaji. What a wonderful session. I hope all of us enjoyed it and got answers to many of our questions in this life. We are happy that all of you could join us again today, and we will see you with yet another wonderful class on the online Gurukul presented by the IYA next week on Sunday. Keep sending us your feedback, keep sending us your questions so that we can pass them on to our revered gurus. Thank you so much. Namaste. Pranam.